Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tackle Talk Live. I'm Ranger Dyer Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with the one and only G&M. I get that every
2
week.
weeks in a row.
V&M General Manager Kevin Jean. Too many V and G's and M's and all that, you know.
I agree.
But anyway, Kevin joins us today as well, and we've got a really good show planned for you today. Today we've got some good insight for some really knowledgeable anglers. If you're fishing a Sealy, you want to stay tuned. We got Darrell Gleason coming on today. Mm-hmm. And who else we got today?
Todd Driscoll, biologist over from the Sam Rayburn area. Going to kind of talk about the pressure Sam Rayburn's been receiving, kind of see what Todd's been seeing from all the studies and everything they've been doing over there at Sam Rayburn, kind of see what his, prediction is for Rayburn going in the future. We all know Sam Rayburn and Toledo kind of go in waves. Yeah. And right now, Toledo's a little down. Rayburn's up. Rayburn's been up for the last 3-4 years, 5 years, been on fire. Kind of get Todd's opinion on what he's seeing, and also on Toledo Bend, too, what he's seeing from Toledo Bend as well.
Well, one of the current rankings, there's two rankings that just came out ranking North American lakes, and one was by Bassmasters. They came out with their rankings for the top 100 for the decade. Mm-hmm. And a matter of fact, in Game and Fish magazine came out with their listing of top 10 lakes in the country. And, of course, Rayburn and Toledo Bend were on that list, as well as Fork was on the list, I think on both lists. So both lakes, as far, especially Rayburn and Toledo Bend, getting a lot of PR, even though locally and all of us guys that are fishing Rayburn and Toledo right now, it's Rayburn.
Absolutely.
It is definitely Rayburn. It's not that Toledo won't come back.
The BASS did theirs on the decade. 2010.
Right.
Well, from 2010 to 2005, it was Toledo Bend.
Oh, man.
And Rayburn was struggling.
Yeah, it was.
They kind of go in their waves, and we're fortunate enough to have both of them right here, where one is usually really hot and the other one's kind of down, so we can go to whichever lake we want to go to.
And we're going to talk about today why. What has made Rayburn? What's the two key factors? And Todd Driscoll is going to tell us that today as to why Rayburn has been so good for the last 2 or 3 years. So he'll give us some great insight. We had Todd on before. He is a biologist and knows the ins and outs of Texas bass fisheries, and of course nobody does it better than Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Absolutely,
as we have seen. So, but real quick before we get to Darrell Gleason, Kevin's going to tell us about the boat shop.
The boat shop. Mr. Raymond Kidd and his staff take great pride in keeping your boat and motor performing at its best. A certified Yamaha dealer and home to the best motor on the market today, the Yamaha Show. They also carry one of the best aluminum boats around, Sea Art, and now they're a full support Garmin dealer. So stop by 2410 Sanford Avenue in Shreveport and let the boat shop take care of all your boating needs. Give them a call at 318-402-0399 or go to shreveportboatshop.com.
And real quick, we just added a new sponsor this week. While Kevin gets Darrell on the phone, we're going to tell you about 3J's 4-Wheel and Cypress Knee Outdoors. John Abraham and the gang out there, our newest sponsor, has come on board Tackle Talk Live. They invite you to make the short drive just south of Natchitoches down Highway 1. A great place for lunch or dinner with an awesome deli that has the best fried chicken in the South. And truly a one-stop shop for gas, food, ice, and some great hunting and fishing products in Cypress Knee Outdoors. Products from Santone, Strike King, Spro, Gamakatsu, and the #1 soft plastics on the planet, V&M Baits. So, hunting supplies from Primo, guns from Winchester, Remington, Mossberg, along with a great selection of ammunition. For all your outdoor needs, go to Cypress Knee Outdoors at 3J's 408 in Cypress, Louisiana, located 1 mile east of I-49 at exit 27, or call 318-238-HUNT. That's 318-238-HUNT. We have the one and only, the legendary, I guess, is he legendary yet?
In his own mind,
his own mind. FLW Pro Darrell Gleason joins us, and Toledo Bend guy. Darrell, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing well, but I wouldn't, y'all should start off with building me up like that.
Well, I watched your FLW events on TV this past week. Did you see it? Did you watch it?
I did.
I've got one question there before we get into the nuts and bolts of Toledo Bend. Why is it, and I know you don't want to rehash this memory, but when you lost that fish on the final day that was a really quality fish, what is it about a chatterbait or a swim jig, or not a bladed jig? Why do you lose more fish on that bait? I'm getting to where God, it seems to be a nemesis for me when I throw that bait. It'll catch fish, but you're going to lose some fish.
You are, and I think so. Part of it, I just think in general that in the wintertime, I think the fish is. I feel that their mouths are a little harder than just in general. But that particular fish hit it and slacklined me, come at me, ran sideways, and I would just say, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the blade on that bladed jig or something. When I leaned into it, because you could tell in the video, I thought quite a while.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I don't really think it was ever hooked at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't think the hook was ever stuck in that fish.
Oh, you just think he had it locked down. He just wasn't letting go. Yeah,
and I just think sometimes the way that blade is or something, or the way they hit it and come at you a certain way, you just, and we've all lost fish. And I knew when the show come out, they'd make it look dramatic and all that. And obviously it was one at the time. I thought that cost me the tournament. But in all honesty, in all fairness, it didn't cost me the tournament. It did cost me second place.
Yeah.
And none of us like to lose any fish at all. But had I caught that one, it would have probably put me within a pound of John Cox. And honestly, it would probably hurt worse. So I think that the good Lord let that one get away so I wouldn't really be upset.
Well, too, is it the same thought process that goes, when you're punching and you got that big weight, when you set the hook, a lot of times that weight will open the fish's mouth up. Is it the same thing with the bladed jig, you think?
I think it could be sometimes. I think sometimes when they eat, most of the time they eat it, I'd say that blade, the way it pendulums on that head, most of the time it probably folds up. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, depending on how they get it, maybe that blade doesn't fold up just right or something. But the way that one particular fish hit it, I was surprised I got as far to the boat as I did, honestly, because it was just amazing how much, because me and my cameraman talked about this after I lost it, how much water that fish covered before I truly, got the rod boat and really started fighting it. It, hit in streaks, 30, 40 feet probably, it felt like. Mm-hmm. And for the water temperatures we were in there, most of the fish, they were hitting hard, but it's unusual for one to hit and just cover that much water, like it did. It was just a feisty one, I guess. I don't know. It was disappointed that it let me hook it, I guess, and it was going to get away one way or the other.
Right.
Well, Darrell,
but look, thankfully it wasn't 8 pounds, because then I would have been really upset.
Exactly.
Well, Darrell, let's jump into the McDonald's, the Big Bass Splash, the Seeley's Big Bass Splash here. I know you've been on the road a lot this year. You've been traveling, fishing the tour, but you've been home the last 2 weeks or so, somewhere around that. I know you've been on the water a little bit. It's kind of. I mean, let's give me your breakdown here of kind of how Toledo is setting up. We know, of course, it's going to be pretty much an offshore deal. We do hear there is a frog bite a little bit over there, but kind of give us your breakdown of how the lake's fishing and just kind of what's going on.
So I would say, obviously July is typically not your primo time to be here, but it's Toledo Bend, and you can catch a big one anytime, and that's what's special about that particular tournament. And I think that's what, we've all talked about this a lot. Toledo Bend really fishes 2 or 3 lakes. And so the offshore deal is going to be the primary deal on the south end. But with the unusually high water, the water is, I don't know, I can't think of a July where it's been over 170. Right. And I'm not sure how much it rose the last the last couple of days.
We've had 3 inches of rain this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got quite a bit yesterday. So,
yeah, we did.
So I'm saying it's, if it's over 170, there's certain parts of the lake, I'm sure you can still go in a creek and throw a frog or pitch cypress trees and all that and catch some quality. But, obviously the overwhelming amount of people is going to be doing the offshore deal. And based on my experience, and Kevin, you know this too, if we don't have good hydrilla on the south end in the summer, it kind of goes down. It's a lot harder to learn, but it kind of goes down above the bridge. Like some of those north creeks that don't get as much pressure, mm-hmm. those traditionally can be very, very good in the summer. So I would say a lot of checks are going to come from shallow, but I can't imagine it not being one, some form or another offshore. Maybe not necessarily deep, but away from the bank, I would think would be where I would want to spend my time.
Well, and with all this fresh water coming in the lake as well, Darrell, will current possibly come into play, or will the current probably be gone by that point, a week from now?
It's hard to say. You never know SRA how much they're going to, cut our floodgates on, because just our generators themselves don't really move a ton of current.
Yeah.
Way down at the dam, you can feel a little bit. But if they do open the floodgates a little bit to try to, reduce the amount of water in here a little bit, I don't think it's going to hurt for sure. If nothing else, even if it's not going on during the tournament, if they started right now today, you have 4 or 5 days of doing that. That's going to kind of help position some of the fish that are normally, more scattered out, hanging around deep brush piles and all that. It might start positioning them on some of the feeding places. So a little current ain't gonna hurt, but I do think the higher water level, it opens it up to even more.
It lets everybody spread out a little bit, for sure,
exactly.
Instead of on every point.
Spread out, but I could see someone, especially someone from out of town, just going and flipping docks for 3 days and catching a great big one. A lot of these docks have brush piles on them.
Yeah.
So it's the same premise as those of us that like to fish offshore, fishing cover, for the fish that aren't exactly, in a great mood and chasing baits and all that. They're just sitting in a brush pile, maybe waiting to snack on a brim or a crappie or something. The dock thing could be a player, because not a lot of people do that here traditionally. So, something like that's going to be good. But I always have thought Toledo Bend, especially even more now traveling around, you don't have to go against what you like to do. You can fish your strength here. You just find the water to match your strength.
Right.
And so I could see a lot of guys doing well shallow that prefer that, and I could see guys running way up the river and doing pretty well.
Yeah. With this water being high like that, definitely.
Yeah. What about the Highway 6 bridge? It's not something that gets a lot of pressure on it. Would that be another spot that maybe you could, you're looking for one big fish? So would that be a good place to?
That's truly, Kevin can remember back before I done all this for a living. I fished this tournament all the time. So a lot of it depends on your strategy. If you're just trying to figure out a way to get checks, or you're trying to catch a big one.
Right.
I think a lot of people in that tournament mess up where they try to force the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they try to throw giant baits and all that.
And now, Daryl, this time of year in July, this is you can't, with the amount of pressure that in July. I think a 3-pound fish will get a check for you. So if I was fishing it, I would have a drop shot in my hand a lot.
Yeah.
I could see to answer your question, Steve, the bridge could play. I remember one of the Elite Series tournaments here several years ago. I was running some customers around that wanted to watch some guys on the water and kind of cheer them on and stuff. And we ran under the bridge, and there was a guy there. I forget who it was exactly, but he was throwing a spoon around the bridge columns catching them.
Yeah.
And at Lake Fork, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Here in Toledo, they don't really get on it great. It's never been a deal I've caught them on. But when you're talking about as many boats is going to be on the water and all that, if you're looking for something that that may not have
you're not
pressure.
looking for 5 or 10. It's not MLB.
Right.
You're looking for 3 or 4 fish in 3 or 4 days.
Right.
Yeah, something off the wall, especially where there's not a lot of people.
Right.
Well, for example, the Lannan Bridge is probably going to get a lot of pressure because there's a boat landing right by it. I mean, so it's easy to get on trailer and get back to the way in. And so I could see that.
It's a little smaller, so it's neck down.
Right.
The Pendleton Bridge, the Highway 6 Bridge, is real huge.
Yeah.
So, but, it's hard to predict any tournament. Y'all know that, but especially a big bass one.
Yeah.
I remember one of the years I fished it, a fellow that won it caught a giant at 1:30 in the afternoon on the last day on a frog in the grass on the south end of the lake too. And I think me and Kevin talked about that. It was like, wow, we didn't go throw a frog in the grass.
In May.
We actually interviewed.
I
actually interviewed the guy on another show, and it was just a fluke. And he knew it was. Actually, he saw the fish bust the water before he caught him.
And threw in there and caught it.
Yeah.
And see, that wouldn't. I mean, that's how this tournament is more than likely gonna. Someone's going to get around some fish and just be catching some fish, and they're going to randomly catch a 9, 10, 11 pounder. But, personally, I would bet you some of the folks, some of our really good local anglers that fish up north are licking their chops over this one.
Yeah, they got a school of 3-4s, that we found they can go get. I agree with you. I think somebody, Ryan Pinkston, Cody Pitt, so on and so forth, that have some of them schools.
Look, how many times have you seen Wayne Ebarb's name?
Yeah, exactly.
For this particular tournament.
Derek Long, you can go down the list.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up Wayne Allen.
Stuff, and they're going to get 4 or 5 checks, and one of those checks could be the great big one. It takes.
Right.
Let me ask you this. So in years past, it's always in May. It's always taken a good 4.5 to get a check. Some hours you have to have a 5.
Yeah.
So in July, this heat, the water doing what it's doing, Maybe not as many boats in it, being it's in July and everything going on is what they usually have in May. What does it take to get on average, to get a check? So your bottom checks, on average, what does it take to get a check?
So definitely, if I had a 3-pounder, I think I was getting paid most hours.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Especially the first hour, because I do remember a couple years. Now, this was years ago, man, 12, 15 years ago when I first started doing these. They did have it in June a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember carrying a 3-pounder one day, and it was like the first hour. So a lot of people's strategy, they like to stay on their hot spot during that first hour. So if they catch a 4-pounder, they may hold it.
Right. So
I caught a 3-pounder, took it up there, and they only played like 9 places out of 12 because everyone was trying to stay on their bite, and there were plenty of people that had fish and live wells out there that just didn't bring them in at that time. But
right.
I would sure think 3-pounder is going to get you paid, pretty much every hour, I would think. Because it is a big difference from May to July, man.
Yeah,
the bite
absolutely.
is just, the fish don't feed as long every day.
And there could be a slew of 3 to 4 pounders. I mean, it could be a lot of.
Well, yeah, and 3-pounders.
It's going to be really tight. It's going to be a lot of people have fish right there at that range.
Yeah, exactly.
That 3.5 to 4 pound range, I think, is going to. You could be 3rd through 10th place every hour. Could be 4 pounds to 3.5.
Right. And I still think you're going to see tons and tons of like 4 to 6 pounders, like we do every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just going to take one of those 8 to 10 pounders to really, stand out.
Right.
So my next question is, for as long as I can remember, a 10-pounder has won this tournament every year. And I'm like Darrell, we've been probably fishing this thing for God knows how long. I was a kid in junior high fishing the McDonald's.
Yeah.
Every year I can think of, it's been one with a 10-pounder. There's been a 10 or 11 caught every year. Is there a 10-pounder caught this year? Does it take a 10-pounder to win it?
I'm going to say it does.
Really?
I believe in what's out there swimming around that lake, and I know the numbers of 10-pounders have been down a little bit and all that kind of stuff, but there haven't been tons of big tournaments here lately or whatever, so I think some of the guys that I'm not going to be shocked if Wayne Ebarb has a 10 or 11-pounder that bites first hour of the first morning if he's fishing in it.
Does the lack of grass on the south end increase the odds for that happening because you're just mainly fishing structure?
It does. I mean, the big problem with that, though, is it puts everybody out doing the same thing. In the past, when we had that grass, it split everybody up.
Right.
And so the fish in the grass didn't feel the pressure, and the fish out deep didn't feel the pressure. And now, in my opinion, I think this is the most pressured group of fish that anyone's ever fished for on Toledo Bend because, most of them 5, 6, 8 years old, however old they are, all they've known is all this offshore pressure, due to everyone, using electronics and getting out and doing that deal. So, but yeah, I do. I could see going over 10 pounds for sure, man. If I was fishing and I caught a 9.5 pounder, I wouldn't feel safe until it was all over.
Well, no. I mean, I agree with that. I definitely would not. You're on Toledo Bend.
Yeah, you hold your breath till the final minute goes off.
Absolutely.
Because I saw Wayne Allen Ebarb lose in the last 2 minutes on the final day one year, and I thought, man.
Well, that was the year the guy called on the frog at 1:30.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
That was like, man.
And I think someone's best chance of catching that 10-pounder is the first 3 hours every day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about that.
That'd be my biggest tip. I've had some of my long-time customers call and say, hey, what's a tip? Or, my biggest thing I tell people is wherever you think your best spot is, I'd be dying on it the first 2 or 3 hours. Not running around, not trying to – I would just really make a good choice where I start and be grinding the first 2 or 3 hours.
So, Darrell, it's funny we was talking about that, taking 1 over 10. We talking about them North guys, Wayne Ebarb and so – and we and about them guys licking their chops, and Ryan Pinkston just commented it will definitely take over a 10-pounder. So he's one licking his lips a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. There haven't been a lot of tournaments, but there's some little sneaky devils like Ryan Pinkston and Wayne Ebarb and take Dustin Rivers and Benji Gilliard, all them boys. Man, there's a group of them North boys that know that end, and there hadn't been a bunch of tournaments, and those guys are committed and smart enough to not go out there and beat their little hidey holes up,
Well, and they're up north where it don't get as much pressure, and they can maybe have a school or two, by themselves, and that's what's huge. On the south end, you can forget it. During the Sealies,
you're not fishing by yourself. You're by yourself on the south end. No. You're not around the bass.
No, you will not have a school by yourself, and you can forget having more than one spot by yourself. It's not going to happen.
The south end is just a community kind of deal, man. It just is. So I guess, honestly, if everyone would just go up north above the bridge, the few guys down below the bridge would have a better chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And they could play some defense on Pinkston and all them other boys that way, you know?
Well, and the fresh water coming into the lake this week might reinvigorate the lake a little bit. It might help it.
If they open the floodgates, it
100%.
will. If they open the floodgates, they could be some good ones caught this week.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Darrell. So we know what baits. I mean, what color you're going to say, and we know it works on Toledo Bend. We know Gleason's candy, but give us, and we know you're a V&M guy, and we know mostly all you throw soft plastic wise is V&M. We don't have to name every V&M bait out there, but just give us 3 categories of baits that you would have on your rod. I mean, on the front deck for this coming weekend.
So I would have a 3/4 ounce football jig with a for me a J bug, but a bigger cross style trailer, and you go with whatever green pumpkin, watermelon type color you prefer. Obviously I like my Gleason's candy, but any of those kind of colors are going to get you close. I would have a Carolina rig on with a creature bait, and then I would have a big worm on. Like for us, we like to throw the box worm. It's an 8.5 inch worm, but it's got a real big tail. And in the worm, I want red bug, plum, or I have really, and you know this, you just give me a big box today, Kevin. I really like that blue fleck color. It's kind of a purple, kind of June bug color.
Yeah.
But I would have the big worm, the sea rig, and the football jig on 100% the first couple hours in the morning when I'm trying to catch a great big, and that's what I'd be throwing. And then, if I struck out, then I might pull out my little, straight shooter, drop shot worm and start begging up some checks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, Darrell, let me ask you this. How big a fish does it take for you to say, okay, immediately I just caught this fish, 5-6 pounder, that you say, we got to go weigh this in. But rather than take a chance on it dying in your live well, what size fish do you say we got to go? 5 or 6 pounder
could win an hour this year.
That's my point. So do you go ahead and say,
100%,
let's try?
Especially, after day one, it's probably easier. You can look at the results. I know a lot of guys that fish this for years, they can look at the results and kind of form a strategy.
Right.
Going into day 2 and day 3. Day 1, I catch a 5 or 6 pounder, and I'm going in. If I have a school active, I might fish it for 15, 20 more minutes.
Right.
And see if I can get another one. But I, like you said, I don't want to take a chance of a fish dying on me. And I'm telling you, there's something to that first hour, y'all.
Well, and also,
a lot of guys won't come in. They like to stay out and fish, and you can you can get sneaky with you might catch a 6 pounder and go up there and win the first hour.
Yeah.
Well, and also Darrell, and you know this, and me and Darrell's fished several of these, and we've had this happen to us. Whereas you catch one off a spot, you got them fired up. When you leave, the chances of you getting back on that spot, you can forget it.
Right.
It's not happening.
Right.
You're coming back to some other people being there, whether they saw you catch it or not.
Yeah.
All the spots are just that popular and all that stuff. So
you better get what you can get off that spot while you're there.
Especially on the south end of the lake.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Correct. And look, I mean, a 5 or 6 pounder you're getting paid. So I don't know, this tournament, it's always hard to play that game, but what hour do I carry one in? If you catch a 10 pounder or something like that, you know you're going to win the hour, then you might want to try to, if the fish is getting healthy, you might hold out for the bonus hour or some of those little things. But if I got money in the bank, I'm getting that money there to get it before the fish dies. I had a buddy one time that had, I think 2 fish, and he was going to try to weigh them back-to-back hours. And he was way down the lake, and it was a rough ride back, and something happened with his live well, and the water come out of his live well, and he lost 2 checks because the fish died, because he was in a rush to get back, trying to make a certain time or whatever for the weigh-in. So
don't be greedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them things. If you can have a slice of cake, don't try to eat the whole thing. Just get what you can get, and it'll work out how it needs to.
All right, Darrell, man, we appreciate it. What's your next adventure? Where's your next stop?
Well, I'm fixing to head north. Actually, next week I'm going to go fish. I've never been to Lake Erie, and we have a tournament coming up there in about a month. So I'm going to run by there and practice a few days, and then we are headed to La Crosse, Wisconsin, for the Upper Mississippi River, and that tournament is in about 3 weeks. So that's the next tournament, and then after that we go straight to Lake Erie.
Okay.
So I'm going to go play on St. Clair and Erie a few days, probably next weekend,
right,
and try to catch some smallmouth and get these last couple bad tournaments out of my system.
Yeah. Well, hey, everybody has them, dude. You're no different. You're doing great. We're proud of you, and we look forward to seeing you bounce back. From all I've ever heard, and I've never been to Wisconsin to fish, but everybody tells me it is a great place to go fishing.
Yeah, I actually went there last year. It's honestly, if more of our Cajun friends in the South knew that was down there, they might would start living up there in the summer and get out of this heat. Because it's the most. So it's the upper end of Mississippi River, and it's the most fertile place I have ever seen.
Yeah.
As far as, grass and pads and all those things. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun, man, and we're having a ball this year, so we're ready to get back at it.
Well, good deal.
Darrell, appreciate you coming on, man.
Yep.
Thank you, guys, and y'all let me know next week how close I was on this 10-pounder. I think it's going to happen.
All right. Well,
sounds good.
Darrell Gleason, FLW Pro, Toledo Bend Guide. Thank you, Darrell, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And so now,
well, I'm gonna let you get Todd on the phone here. And one thing I want to talk about for this upcoming Sealy event, and we just talked about it. You get that 5 or 6 pounder in the live well. You've got a boat run to make. You might fish in 30, 45 minutes. The tip I'm going to tell you guys, and you've got to use, is the weight clips, the little clips. All right, so let's say you catch one, and a lot of these fish are going to be caught deep. Even for the boat ride, just to keep that fish upright in the live well so it's not on its side is a huge deal. It helps a lot. Make sure, I know Keith's Tackle has them. I know Toledo Bend has them. Toledo Town has them. A lot of the ones right there on lake, you still have time to order some if you need some. 3J's 4-Way out here just south of Natchitoches has them for you guys coming from South Louisiana. Get some weight clips. They clip on the bottom fin of the fish. This will help a lot. It'll help keep your fish alive. If you don't plan to take one in right away, and we know a lot of times if you're not that far of a boat ride, it'll be 7. If it's caught like at the 7 o'clock hour, if you catch it at 7:05 or 7:15, and you got a 10-minute boat ride in, then a lot of times. You'll fish in a 20, 30 minutes. Put those weight clips on those fish, hold them upright for your ride in. It helps keep those fish alive. So make sure that's my tip of the week for the Sealy's Outdoor. We having a problem getting Todd on the phone?
Yeah, I'm trying to give him a call here.
So next up, we got Todd Driscoll, biologist from Sam Rayburn. Just kind of want to talk about Sam Rayburn and the pressure it's had the last 3 to 4 years. Kind of see what Todd says about everything going on over there and how the fishery is going to be for us for the next couple of years.
And we do have Todd Driscoll, wildlife fishery biologist from Texas. And Todd, first of all, I want to compliment you and the job that you do with the Texas Parks and Wildlife. Y'all do an absolutely outstanding job. There's a reason why Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, Lake Fork, and those kind of places are just absolute bass meccas. And it's because of the hard work that you guys put in, man. Thank you for your continued support of that and all your dedication to making them great.
I appreciate the kind words, Steve. It's a fun job to have. It really is. And, a lot of what you're talking about, honestly, I think we can attribute to Mother Nature. We can get into that in some more detail, but habitat's a big factor over here in East Texas. That helps us out quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Makes your job a little easier, doesn't it?
Habitat makes any reservoir fisheries biologist job much, much easier.
Yeah.
No question.
Well, one of the things, Todd, that we really want to get into, the weights, of course, Sam Rayburn's kind of our focus. There in Toledo Bend, the 2 bodies of water we're going to focus on today. You got Bob Seeley coming up this next week, so we got a lot of people listening. We just had Darold Gleason on. Darold did a great job of breaking down Toledo Bend for the Bob Seeley, what you could do, what you need to do. And now let's talk about Rayburn a little bit. Rayburn, the bass, the weights it's taking, even into the summer, 23, 27, 28-pound bags, 3 fish for 23 pounds, 5 fish for 29 in June. And you're like, holy cow. What do you attribute the size of the bass and the quality of the bass in Sam Rayburn? What is that attributed to?
Well, what it is just numerous year classes are just super strong, right? I mean, it's just a probability game. It's playing the odds. Each year you have X number of bass survive their first year of life over the winter to age 1. And the stronger that year class is, the more bass in Sam Rayburn survived age 1, then as you play that through time 7 or 8 years later, the more bass you have, 8+ pounds. I mean, it's just a probability game because, the mortality of those adult bass is pretty consistent. Say maybe 15-20% every year, something like that. Whether it's hooking mortality, whether it's natural illness, natural mortality, whether it's tournament mortality, some of those fish die. So the stronger your year class strength is every year, the more large fish you will consistently have years down the road. And it gets back to what we talked about right off the top here, habitat-wise. I say every single year. I've been here for 22 years now, and I can recall 1 year out of that 22 that we had very poor recruitment type habitat to increase the survival of bass fingerlings. It was a drought year that, for whatever reason, hydrilla didn't grow much, so we had almost no cover in the water. But that's 1 out of 22. All the other years, you have strong year classes. And strong year classes every year just lead to high numbers of bass, whether it's 14-inch fish or on a relative basis, whether it's 8-pound fish.
Right.
Again, it's just that probability game. The stronger the year class, the more 8+ pound fish you're going to have 7 or 8 years later.
Todd, Kevin Jean here. My question to you is, how was that class this past year on Rayburn with the water fluctuation that we were getting, all the rain we got, and then pulling a little bit, and the water was kind of up down? How do you feel the class was this year on Rayburn?
Kevin, I don't have any doubt it was strong. Sometimes I hear discussions, and I think it's what you're alluding to, about maybe some water levels going up or down 2 or 3 feet over a period of several weeks.
Correct.
That really has no overall impact in the end, because bass are really adaptable, number one. And number two, there's no doubt a small number of bass beds. The males may have to abandon those beds if the water is dropping. But nearly all those males will make beds in a little bit deeper water. And then it just takes such a small percent of bass beds to be successful to fill that whole niche, so to speak, for that given year on maximizing the number of fingerling bass that are going to survive. It just takes a very small percent of this to be successful. So I've never seen a year, even though I hear anglers talking a lot about it, bass are so adaptable again, and I've never seen a year where the water level fluctuations themselves would have really had any negative impact on the year class strength.
Right. Now, Todd, how long does it take on Sam Rayburn, basically, and I guess the Toledo Bend in there as well, for a bass to reach 6 pounds? What's the length of time you're looking at from the fingerling to 6-pound fish?
Average growth rates, it's going to be, I say average, let's just talk about the overall range. It's probably going to be anywhere from 4 to 7 years of age.
Okay.
To get to that size, yeah.
So a little over a pound a year that they're putting on?
Yeah. That's a good rule of thumb.
Todd, let's get your opinion now on Toledo Bend. It's been down the last couple of years, and we all know it. Toledo and Rayburn both kind of go in waves, and right now Rayburn's on fire and way up. Toledo's a little bit down, more than normal. Give us your opinion on Toledo and kind of where you see it in the future and see it going.
Well, there's no doubt that we have seen a decline in the population abundance over there. Of course, that's why we do our electrofishing surveys. We do them every 2 years on Rayburn and Toledo Bend. And we sampled around Toledo Bend this past fall. And we did see really the biggest drop that I've seen in my career here. It's still on a relative basis, the number of fish we caught would still put it above a majority of other lakes in Texas. But, the bar was raised so high at Toledo Bend back in 2015, 16 in that ballpark that undoubtedly it is down. One reason I believe is the habitat. All the main lake hydrilla has just been totally absent since 2015. I wish I had answers as to why it hasn't started regrowing yet. I just don't have those answers. It's really a mystery.
Has spraying had an effect on that, you think, or is that the culprit? Look, we got to blame We got to blame somebody.
Main lake hydrilla, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I guess it's possible that some of the contact herbicides that were used on salvinia, I mean, they're going to have a small impact in that immediate area. But if you look at herbicide treatments over time at Toledo Bend, for just as one example, on the southern third of the reservoir, Housden was one of the areas that was sprayed real heavily for salvinia, and all through that time, it was just a mainstay for hydrilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But since 2015, I mean, there's what knocked all the hydrilla back was that really high muddy inflows we had there. I lose track of time. I think it was 2015 or 16? I'd have to go back and look at the records. But anyway,
right.
We had that really high inflow for several months, and the water was pretty off color. That is what initially killed the hydrilla off. But there again, we've had a couple years here. Well, you look right now in areas with 5, 6, 8 feet depths, the water clarity is plenty good for hydrilla to grow.
Right.
There's just some kind of limiting factor there that we just don't truly understand. But that's kind of a long answer to your question. I think it's primarily habitat related as to why the bass population's down, and then it gets to catchability too, right? I mean, most of us anglers, we like to fish around hydrilla unquestionably.
Right.
It just increases catchability. It puts those adult bass in more predictable areas for us to target. When you take all that away, not only does it decrease that year class strength we were talking about, but it also decreases catchability of the fish.
Yeah.
So I think both of those coupled together. And then thirdly, Toledo Bend has a pretty high harvest rate in this day and age.
Well, and that's where I want to go next. I've got a question for you that I want you to – I had another wildlife biologist tell me this from Toledo Bend, that he thinks part of the issue – he says, I'm going to give you an example. He said, North Louisiana guys have a different mentality when it comes to catch and release versus South Louisiana guys. He said they tend to catch it and they putting it in the box and they taking it home. He said more fish are taken out from that end of the lake because it is South Louisiana end of the lake than there is on the northern end of the lake. Is there any substance to that?
I don't really think there is in terms of North Toledo and South Toledo. I just think it affects the whole reservoir.
Yeah.
We have data for years and years and years that show just how relatively high the harvest rate is. I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, for years it's been at the lowest 50%,
mm-hmm.
and at the highest 75%. That means if a legal bass is caught, at least half of the time, sometimes 3 out of 4 times, it goes home to the frying pan.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is super, super high in this day and age.
I didn't realize it was that high. That is really high.
Yeah. And what was that figure again?
Say again?
What was that figure again? What percent?
It's varied anywhere from 50 to 75%. I think our last estimate, it was like 55%.
Holy cow.
But, I'm not shocked by that. I'm really not. Sam Rayburn is so much of a tournament bass fishing lake. It is a trophy lake people come to for tournaments. I mean, there is a huge 200-field tournament every weekend on Sam Rayburn. Toledo is not that anymore. It's not that tournament mecca anymore. It is a weekend getaway. There's a camp every 5 feet.
The angler mentality is different.
On the Louisiana side, there's a camp every 5 feet, and every one of them camps, they want supper that night.
Yeah, that's probably – and again, that's what the biologist – that was his theory. And my question to him was, can you fish a lake out? And he says, yes, you can of catchable fish. That don't mean you're going to catch all the fish out, but the catchable ones, which you alluded to earlier, Todd, not all fish, I've been told not all fish are catchable.
Well, when you talk about, can you fish a lake out, that's why we have link limits, right? That's why we have one of the reasons why we have the 14-inch minimum.
Right.
I mean, that is to preserve a certain percent of the fish that are of sexual maturity that can reproduce and not be harvested. So if you assume compliance with that reg, you will never, ever fish a lake out, even if every bass was harvested. But, of course, fishing quality would be greatly reduced. Your average size of fish you catch would be 14 to 16 inches long.
Right.
But, here's how I say it over and over and over again, and it's why, states have fisheries biologists. I mean, our job is to monitor the dynamics of the fishery populations, and some people try to equate these large reservoirs comparing to, say, farm ponds, and some people will try to argue that you need some harvest. And Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend and numerous other large reservoirs, you do not need any harvest.
Right.
Every harvested bass takes away from fishing quality. I mean, we have more than enough shad, more than enough sunfish prey out there. The growth rates are good. People that say that, I think, might just be trying to justify their harvest behavior, so to speak. And there's nothing against I mean, obviously, harvesting of bass, there's nothing against the law in doing so. But
right.
Don't kid yourselves that you're benefiting the resource.
Yeah.
In small lakes and ponds, yes, you can have bass overcrowded situations where you need harvest of bass. Not in Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Todd, what about, and we just kind of alluded to this. So we kind of broke down the problems we're having at Toledo Bend and why it's not where it used to be. Let's switch over to Sam Rayburn. And we just said it. There is a huge tournament every single weekend on Sam Rayburn. At some point, that has to have some kind of effect on these fish. Now, yes, they're getting thrown back into the lake, and all the tournament weigh-ins are doing such a good job now of keeping those fish alive and getting them back in the water. But as many fish that gets transported from where they are caught back to their back to the where the weigh-in is and get thrown in, this has to have an effect on them at some point.
Well, there is an effect, but let me jump back to a study that we did back in again, time gets away from it, I think 2005. I mean, it was honestly, it's probably the thing I'm most proud of in my career. We looked at the impact of tournaments at Sam Rayburn. We spent a lot of state money and resources and a lot of staff time doing it. And just to tell the short story, what we found out was that overall, only 38% of the bass of legal size in Sam Rayburn were caught at all in 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Now, that was back in 2005. Now, I think fishing pressure and tournament pressure has increased some, but I don't believe that number has changed a whole lot. And of that 38%, only 5% of that were tournament anglers catching them and hauling them to a weigh-in. So during that 2005 time frame, in 1 year, we found that only 5% of the legal fish were caught and transported to a weigh-in, which again speaks to just how many bass are in Sam Rayburn.
Wow.
It gets back to the habitat. It gets back to that tremendous year class strength. I mean, I always characterize Sam Rayburn as just an absolute fish factory. And it is. And that's why it's so good year after year, and that's why it handles the tournament pressure so much. Now, with all that said, there are impacts, and I think they're primarily twofold. One, it gets back to the catchability factor. I mean, we absolutely know there's been numerous scientific studies done to show that, as fishing pressure increases, bass catchability decreases. Fish just get educated. They learn to avoid lures and potentially even avoid areas with outboard motor noise and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have the impact, and this is educated speculation on my part. We never could really design a study to flat determine this due to sample size, but it's just common sense to me that the population level impact of tournaments and heavy fishing pressure is going to be on those fish that are 4+ pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be, because as anglers are all selective for bigger fish, as fish get bigger, they're more susceptible to all kinds of stressors, live well stress included. So to me, that's where the measurable impact would be is the trophy aspect of Sam Rayburn. And still, it produces a ton of big fish. My point is that if you just could snap your finger and create a replicate of Sam Rayburn, set it to the side for 10 years with no tournaments, it'd be unbelievable how many 10+ pound fish.
Oh, God, yeah.
No doubt.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, and coming from somebody that works in the industry and makes a living in the industry, I'm glad tournaments is great for everybody. The fishermen
Right.
love them. It's
Right.
great for the locals there and for everybody in the fishing industry. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for a huge tournament every weekend. I want everybody going to buy as much tackle as they can,
Right.
to go fishing with. So I'm
That's
all
what pays the
for
bills.
absolutely. So I'm all for big tournaments every weekend. I'm really glad to hear that you don't feel like it has an impact on the lake.
Well, Todd, another thing too that I saw a study years ago by Honey Hole magazine. It's been years ago. And my question's always been, what happens to those 4 to 6 pound fish that are weighed in a tournament? Will they go back to the area? That's the 147 bridge area. We all know that you, Todd, me, Kevin, that all of us that fish Rayburn, that 147 bridge area is where a majority of the tournaments are won within sight of that thing. Those fish that are pulled out of there and hauled back to Humphrey Pavilion, I saw a study where if it's 4 pounds or bigger, they're more apt to go back up the lake. If they're less than 4 pounds, they're more apt to readapt to another area as long as there's bait fish. True, have you done anything to substantiate that?
No, we haven't done any studies of bass movement after tournament release simply because that's been studied pretty aggressively throughout the country.
Yeah.
And all the studies pretty much indicate similar things. And it's somewhat common sense. What happens is it's kind of a mixed bag. If the tournament release, if the fish release point has good habitat and good forage present, a lot of those fish are going to stay put a good while.
Mm-hmm.
If the habitat's really poor or if fish are dumped in deeper open water areas, they're going to migrate a fair amount. Some of them go to new areas. Some do go back to they were caught, but as far as I know, and I researched this a good amount numerous years ago, looked at probably 15 or more studies on the topic, and it seemed like the breaking point was 11 miles of displacement. If a fish was displaced for 11 miles, no studies ever documented that the fish has ever returned to the place of catch.
Oh, interesting.
So,
That is interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that answered that. So, well, Todd, Kevin, anything else?
I think I've got all my questions in.
Todd, you have really enlightened all of us today about, fish habitat and what makes Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, and really all of our fisheries so great. And we appreciate your input. We appreciate your time, your knowledge. And again, we can't say thank you enough to you and your guys in Texas Parks and Wildlife and the effort y'all go to make sure our fisheries are in great shape.
You bet. Again, thanks for the kind words, and appreciate you having me on anytime.
All right. Todd Driscoll.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, man.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Todd Driscoll, Texas Parks and Wildlife, fishery biologist, and also a good angler, great angler. Todd's one of the anglers that Kevin and I compete against quite often and does a great job and very knowledgeable. And we always appreciate having Todd on, giving his input. It just makes us realize, Kevin, that, even as much as tournament pressure, that 5%.
Yeah, I never would have expected
that blew me away.
Yeah, it really
That
does.
only 5% of the fish were actually weighed in. I'm just like, by tournament anglers.
Yeah.
And as many tournaments as there are over there. That's crazy. That just tells you how many fish are out there. So, again, we want to thank Darrell Gleason. Thank Todd. Both these guys were on with us today. Could not have been a better day. Could not have been a better show with those two guys. Information we got from both. Again, if you're getting ready to fish Sealy and you want to replay this show, go to our YouTube channel. You can replay it. You can watch it again and pick up some of those tips that Darrell gave.
And also last week's show, we had
Yes.
Mr. Bob Seeley on himself. He kind of gave the breakdown of registration and how they'll be doing weigh-ins and so on and so forth. So if you want to go back and watch last week's show, it's on Facebook Live. It's on our YouTube page. You can check that out and listen to him. We also talked to Caleb Summerall, got some basin techniques from him last week on kind of what he thought. Steve, we're hearing the same thing every week. We have talked to Justin Cooper, guide at Toledo Bend, Caleb Summerall, Elite Series Pro, guide at Toledo Bend, Darrell Gleason, FLW Pro, guide at Toledo Bend, football jig, big worm, Carolina rig. Now
maybe a frog early,
or a top water early.
Yep.
But I still say, Steve, a 3-pound fish will get a check this coming weekend. And I'm like Darrell, and we fish a lot together, and we fish alike a lot. That you go hard that morning for the first 3 or 4 hours, throwing your big baits and everything, and trying to get that big fish bite you want. But after 9, 10 o'clock, when it just gets hot and it gets hard to get a bite, I'm breaking down and going some more finesse. The drop shot, throwing a trick worm a little bit more just to get a bite, because you can catch 3-pounders that way easily.
Right.
I'm not going to say easily, but you're more apt to catch a fish, and the more bites you get, you're more reluctant to catch a 3-pounder that will get you a check.
Yeah.
So
nothing can play a factor too, especially here this week. The past 4 days, it's been cloudy most of the day. That could play a factor too. Don't be afraid to stay shallow on up in the day. Now this weekend is supposed to be, I think, hot and sunny, and only a 10% chance.
And hot
and more hot. So, and speaking of hot, make sure you take care of the fish that are in your live well. These products from the company, the Fish Care, Fish Life products, make sure you've got plenty of that kind of juice on board to put in your live well additives that'll help keep your fish alive. And also they've got a live well cleaning product, maybe after each tournament each day. Wash your live well out. Make sure you use this product right here. Again, it's the same thing, live well cleaner from Fish Life Fish Care products. Great product, and works.
So last thing here, Steve. And we're going to have a giveaway on our Facebook post this week. We got some new tumblers in, Tackle Talk Live tumblers.
Oh, there we go.
We got some new tumblers in. We're going to have a giveaway this week to picking the winning weight for the Sealy's Big Bass Splash this weekend on Toledo Bend. Ooh. So the closest or exact weight, the first person to pick the closest exact weight without going over will win a tumbler. We'll get that up on the Facebook page probably this evening or tomorrow. But I want to ask you, I want to get your opinion. The winning weight for this weekend.
I'm going to write it down. 986.
So you're not going with a 10?
No, not going with a 10. 986 is my prediction.
I didn't want to, and I wasn't.
Well, Daryl's talked you into it.
Well, and then, here's the bigger thing. When you get somebody like Ryan Pinkston comment and say, there will definitely be a 10 Wade.
Yeah.
I'm changing my.
It's like he knows something.
He knows something. He knows something on that north end of the lake. So I'm going to change mine, and I'm going to go back over, and I'm going to go with my lucky number because it was the only 10 I've ever caught was 10.05. And that's what I'm going to go with. That's what I'm going to go with.
We're both pretty close as far as ounces away from each other. So I just, and last week there was actually a 10.17, I think, caught at Toledo Bend.
Yes.
That was on Facebook, I saw. And so they are out there. We know they're there. And again, I'm going to go out on a limb, too, here. I'm going to predict who will win it.
Oh, I'm not even going there.
I'm going there.
Because I think
there's a guy that is due that has been so close so many times.
Well, but here's my opinion on that. I agree with Darrell. I think it's going to be a something. I could predict the guys who I think is going to get 4 and 5 checks. I can go down a list of about 10 of them that's going to get 4 or 5 checks. But I think it's going to be won by somebody doing something off the wall, like Darrell said, throwing something by a bridge
off
pile.
The bridge.
Doing something completely different that there's a one big 10-pounder down and they catch it. That's how I think it's going to be won. So I'll let you finish.
Wayne Allen Ebarb is the guy that I'm going to throw out there. He has been so close so many times, and he's consistent in this event year after year after year. And I'm thinking this Wayne Allen, it's going to be your year, buddy. It's going to be your turn. So that's my prediction. And but it'll be a great turnout no matter what.
Absolutely.
And again, stay safe out there because it is going to be hot. Only a 10% chance of rain all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Temperatures in the mid-90s. Lows only dipping down in the mid-70s at night. So it's going to be hot, y'all.
Guys, remember to check out our sponsors, the boat shop up in Shreveport, who is now a Garmin. They carry everything Garmin, work on everything Garmin, from your units,
trolling
your
motors,
electronics to the new Garmin trolling motors.
Yep.
Check them out on Facebook. Give them a like, ShreveportBoatShop.com. Or give them a call if you need anything. And also 3J's 4-way right here south in Natchitoches. For all you South Louisiana people that come up the interstate to Natchitoches and go across to Toledo Bend, you can take the Cypress exit right there 4 miles south of Natchitoches, and it's the store is 1 mile off the interstate.
Right.
And you can get loaded up before you get to Toledo Bend.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're a Cane River guy or Red River guy in this region right here, hey, check out Cypress in the Outdoors. Great place. They got a full selection of everything you'll need for either one of those bodies of water. So that's going to wrap us up for this week. Stay tuned. I've got a video coming up of the Tackle Talk Live tip of the week. And if you want to continue to catch more fish, make sure you watch Tackle Talk Live. Here's this week's Tackle Talk Live tip of the week. Today we're going to talk about skirt maintenance. You know, one of the worst things that can happen is when you're fishing on especially a hot summer day. One of the worst things for spinnerbait skirts is heat and moisture. They tend to do this, especially with the living rubber skirts. They tend to shrivel up on you. The strands will stick together on you and create a real problem for you. And basically, you want to change the skirt out and put a new one on. Well, I'm going to tell you a product that will help you preserve these spinnerbait skirts and jig skirts. Works on those as well. Put a little Real Magic. Real Magic, just spray it on and kind of coat it down a little bit and rub it in. It will help protect that skirt and won't let it dry out the way it normally would and start to shrivel up on you. But so make sure you try the Real Magic right after you've taken those spinnerbait. I keep a can in my boat all the time just for that reason. And it's also good on reels during the day, or if you're fishing in real cold weather, freezing weather, you spray this on the eyes to keep them from freezing up. But anyway, next thing I do, when I'm storing my skirts, and I am a big spinnerbait and jig guy, the one thing I like to do is make sure my skirts are put up properly. And I've got a bunch of them. So what I tend to do is I take cornstarch. Cornstarch is one of the best products for maintaining and preserving your skirts. It's a great product. You simply just take all your skirts, take them out of your bags that you're storing them in, put your fingers in there, dip them in there, get some on your fingers, rub it on the skirts. As you can see, just coat them. All you're doing is coating them. Make sure you coat the collars really well, because the collars are the other thing that tends to rot on us. So, and then you can take them, put them back in the baggie. Next time you get ready for some skirts, whether it's for jigs or spinnerbaits, they'll be ready to go. That's this week's Tackle Talk Live tip of the week.